Okay, so one of the biggies about Perkins, and later on when I go and talk about what this new needs assessment that is the comprehensive local needs assessment that's required, one of the things that's going to be required is reviewing these indicators. So I wanted you to kind of get an idea of what they were. So Perkins over the last years, as of last Perkins 4, we've always, in all the Perkins reported to the feds, we've always said we're going to meet this level, a percentage on something. For instance, we're going to have this amount of completers in our state. Once somebody becomes a concentrator in our program, and a concentrator for the community colleges is when you have 12 units and a 2-digit top, of which at least 1 unit is in a SAM A through C, which is apprenticeship, a capstone course, or an intermediate course, then they become a concentrator. And now we start tracking them. So of the concentrators you track in the state, the feds wanted to say, okay, on completions, what are you saying percentage-wise you're going to make completers in the state that complete your programs? And we would negotiate with them. And then last Perkins, they came back and said, no, we want you to negotiate with your locals too. We don't want just to roll up to you and you negotiate with us. We want the locals, each local district, to be responsible for a percentage, and we want them to be under the same guideline as you are. And so it basically is the same now. They left them, they didn't leave the core indicators the same, but they left the concept the same. They said, you're going to, once again, you're going to go out to the locals and you're going to play Let's Make a Deal, and you're going to say, okay, I'm going to take the last 3 years of what you did, and I'm going to average that, and then I'm going to tell you what we're doing with the state for that year, and you choose, we always choose the lowest one for you. And then you say out of that, really, do I need something less than that and why? And we negotiate that with you. So what they used to be was, did you get a C or better in your core, those SAM A through C classes? Did you complete, did you retain, or did you get a job? Now they've taken one of those, the first one, and they made it into, they've combined 3 of those together. They've said, did you complete, did you get a job, and, or have you retained? I mean, they got the retention, completion, and job all in one. And they put that as number 1. So it's the percentage of CTE concentrators who during the second quarter after program completion remain enrolled in post-secondary education. So that's the retain. You already said, so, and they've completed, because they said second quarter after completion. So they completed, but they retained, and retain can be they've now gone to UC or CSU or another community college or whatever. So they've retained. And did they, after that second quarter, receive any kind of employment, including they're going to look at military service, and they're going to look at a bunch of other types of kinds of work you could be getting, and see if you come up. If any of those are a positive indicator, then you're good. So, but this one, they're still having a heck of a time on that one. Well, they'll eventually figure it out. I'm figuring when we hit the next 2 years when we have to do this, they'll get it all together. But right now they're working on how do you incorporate all those and it be a valid statistic and that sort of thing. So that's statistic number 1. Number 2, they're going to want to know, and the state's now working on this one as well, the percentage of CTE concentrators who received a recognized post-secondary credential during participation or within 1 year of program completion. So I've listed those earlier when we talked about what the recognized post-secondary credential was. Now this is the part that's harder. An industry recognized certificate. It's easy for us to know whether we got a 2-year degree, right, or a certificate from us. That's not going to be hard to account for. The parts that they're still working on making sure they can get the data is that bit about a credential consisting of an industry recognized certificate or certification, because not all those have to hand us their stuff, right? And although they can, because FERPA regulations allow them to, that doesn't mean they will. So the state is still working on trying to get as many of those together so that we have accurate data. Also, did you complete an apprenticeship? A license recognized by the state or federal government. So that's the other thing. We don't necessarily know all the licenses either. So the state is still working on trying to track that as best we can, because it is hard to track. And then the last one is the percentage of CTE concentrators in career and technical education programs and programs of study that lead to non-traditional fields. Now non-traditional, and I'm going to go over all in about a slide or so, I'm going to go over all of the special populations of Perkins, because every time that they do anything, they want you to look at the special populations. And so special populations for what we would normally think of as a special population is not necessarily what all the special populations of Perkins are. So I am going to go over all those. One of those special populations is non-traditional, however. So non-traditional is when a male or a female in a particular occupation is 25% or less employed. So you're looking at females in automotive, women in as firemen, men as child development, men in nursing. So there's women in police, sciences. Now women are not that non-trad in criminal justice, but when you're looking at the police or the fire, they are. So the point is now, the feds always thought non-traditional was important. They've always put them in as a special population, but now they've made them a core indicator. And what this means is when you're looking at, that's why when I said I was so happy about being able to go down to 5th grade, and that you could go down to 5th grade and encourage the non-traditional types of programs that you have. Because if you don't have someone in there to begin with, how can they possibly have a concentrator in it that led to, you have to have them in there. So you don't want to always end up not meeting this one because you haven't worked really hard on now going and getting your non-trads in. And the way you're going to do that is by starting at a kid at a 5th grade and trying to, build that kind of confidence to come in. Okay, so those are the new core indicators that every district that's on, now keep in mind these are the core indicators for post-secondary.